Hi everybody, Cheryl and Lady, well, no, Cheryl and Karen, and our friend Phil, coming to you from the Ladies' Garden and Home. Only, I'm not home, I'm in England with Karen, and we're going to show you her beautiful gardens today. So I hope you join us. So, like I said, we're here in England. My friend Karen, you want to say hi?
Hello.
And explain to us why you are in England.
Okay. So I moved over here about 8 years ago. My husband is British. And after about a year of moving over to the outskirts of London, we moved deeper into the countryside. So we're in a town called Tame, which is about 40 to 50 minutes from Oxford. And we took a long time to find a house, and we really are just in the middle of a large housing estate, but British people are crazy about gardening, broadly speaking. So we were lucky enough to get a house that came with a pretty decent sized garden for a standard 1970s British estate. And it came with a very mature garden. So
Explain what an estate is, because
basically a housing development.
Okay.
There you go. So it came with a pretty mature garden, lots of nice shrubs, and even a very tall tree, which is a bit unusual. So then we had to decide what we wanted to do with it, because neither one of us are intense gardeners, but I hadn't had one growing up or in my early adulthood, and my husband did, but he didn't want anything that was too heavy maintenance. So we sort of decided upon enhancing what came with the place with a lot of containers. So we have...
We're going to show them that.
Yeah, so we have sort of a hybrid container garden and a heavy focus on being wildlife friendly.
That's true.
Is the focus of our back garden.
All right, so we're going to show you.
So welcome to the back garden. So I guess let's start with containers. We're trying to focus on getting mostly perennials, so we don't have to replant everything. We have a herb garden planter. We have some catmint. We have a lot of local cats who like to come into our back garden, so we thought we'd give them a treat.
And you do. They come in everything. And then in the herb container is rosemary and thyme and chives.
Yeah, and I think there's some parsley in there that's probably
okay.
past its
Yeah.
prime.
Okay. What's amazing is it's the end of October, and you have so many summer flowers still
That are still
flowering.
going.
Yeah.
We have a strawberry plant that, as Cheryl said, is still flowering. I'm not sure we're going to get another strawberry, but it's trying. It's being eaten to death. But this is sort of the first stop of the wildlife aspect of a garden. So that's a hedgehog feeder. Hedgehogs are wild animals that only come out at night, and they're threatened. They're not technically endangered yet, but they're threatened. So if you're lucky enough to have them in your garden, you're encouraged to do what's called supplemental feeding. So you still want them to be wild, you still want them to eat their natural food, but...
Tell them what you feed them.
We feed them cat food, basically kitten food, because it's high protein, and it's cheap. It's the cheapest thing to feed them. But even if you can't feed any of your wildlife for any reason, the number one most important thing to do is to have water bowls. So even if you don't feed birds, frogs, hedgehogs, foxes, they all need more water than...
And why do they need a box?
Well, the box is to, first of all, keep the food dry, because it rains a lot. It's also to keep slugs and other things from eating the food, or blackbirds. And it's basically just keeps it a little bit easier to keep things tidy and neat. And It gives us a viewing platform, both live, and we have cameras set up around the garden so we can see if any of the hedgehogs are sick or hurt.
Like this is one of the cameras.
Yeah, because
Plus, it's a very adorable thing to watch.
because they're only at night, you may not necessarily ever well, you shouldn't see them during the day at all. If you do, that means they're sick. But sometimes we'll catch them when they're just coming out. But they are active at night, so we wake up in the morning and look at the cameras to make sure they're doing well.
I'm gonna put the clip in that I took of them the other night.
Yeah.
The little guy. Okay.
So we started with just bowls of food, and now it's gotten more elaborate over time.
All right, and these black grasses are very interesting. Do you know what they are?
I don't. Like I said, we were fortunate to inherit a lot of stuff. So the rocks were all here, and the borders, and any of the large shrubs.
And this tree is very popular here. I mean, it kind of looks like a house plant that just got huge. But that's really beautiful.
The jasmine, which is still kind of flowering.
Well, you know, I noticed, look at that. You still have buds.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Pretty jasmine plant. I mean, this is amazing.
Right, so I'll lean down here. So this is wildlife stop number 2. Underneath this lavender plant is a nesting box. So this is for if the hedgehogs want to nest in our back garden, we let them. And we've also put out some hay for them and some extra leaves for bedding, but it's a nice secluded place, and the entrance is facing away from the wind so they don't get too cold.
Oh, that's very nice. It's healthy lavender plant too. And this is one of your...
Another water bowl, needs a bit of a clean, and sort of container stop number 2. And
this is very pretty how you did this on the fence. And what I really like about this fence and the rest of the garden here, which you're finally seeing kind of the rest of the garden, is that it just, for some reason, really gives depth and makes it look bigger. Plus you've got like a little corner here. It's almost like a separate room.
exactly, so a little raised deck.
Very pretty. And I thought this grass was just amazing.
That's called
Fun.
it's called a juncus, and we just purchased it from our local grocery store. And we'll just see what happens. And hopefully it'll survive.
Very nice. And this is a lovely deck. Mike put that in, right?
Yes,
This deck?
so Mike built this. And so again, a combination of, so Cheryl's inspired me to try out my hand at vegetable gardening. So I've got a couple of raised planters. Underneath here is just a pile of logs to again encourage insects and critters for the hedgehogs and to make it more comprehensively wildlife for the birds and the hedgehogs. That's highly recommended. Wood pile. And way back in the corner is where the hedgehogs come into our garden. So we cut a hole in 2 of our fences about the size of a CD, and that's how they come in, through that back corner.
Cool. And what do you got in the
Well, we've got
bed? Got leeks?
we've got some leeks, some parsnips, which I don't know how that's going, and I've got some spring onions that seem to have started growing again. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, listen, free food, hey. And then you had also, you grew cherry tomatoes.
I had a cherry tomato plant there, which has been pulled, and there were
And then you have
carrots
this
here. I'm
really nice.
lazy vegetable gardener.
No, but this is a nice planter, and it is deep enough for carrots, which is nice. And you can move it around, or you can store it away if you want.
Yeah.
That's nice. You know where you got it?
It's called, what is it called? It's called a veg trug, I think. Veg trug.
You don't have to.
No.
We can look it up later if you want.
No.
Okay.
Veg trug. Veg trug.
Yeah, this is very nice.
That's their starter kit.
Well, you know, I have a small space, and so I'm always looking for things that are appropriate for a small space garden, you know? And what I like about this is it's up off the ground.
It comes with a cover,
Oh.
so you can put the cover over it.
That's nice. So tell me about what you're doing over here.
So I'm trying to do a mix of low-growing flowers in the front, again perennials, and some higher things in the back, with a mix of wildflowers as well. The shrubs and the raised garden itself were here when we moved in.
Like these big shrubs.
Yeah, so the really big shrubs were in. That's a cobnut tree. So again, wildlife friendly. The squirrels come and eat that.
Nice.
And then we've just been playing with different plants and seeing what happens, adding a couple of architectural points of interest, if you will.
And rocks.
And
The
yes,
rocks, you know, they look, that adds, I think, a lot of visual interest.
and again, the wood, again, encourages bugs and insects and worms and beetles and all sorts of good things.
Oh, and tell us about the tree, big tree.
Yeah, so that's our eucalyptus, which the birds love, and the squirrel will live in occasionally. But that came with the place, and originally it was covered in a vine, and we had to do a lot of work to get it looking like a tree again. But now it's very happy.
Beautiful tree.
This is the bird corner. We have a ground feeder, but we have some bully birds.
Bully birds.
So to discourage them for a little while, there's a cage so that only the small birds can get through.
It's a smart idea.
Another water dish, another water dish, and a deluxe bird feeder. This again is to discourage starlings from eating all the food. They don't like the chains, but the smaller birds don't care. That's to discourage squirrels and rats.
And it works?
And it works.
Nice.
And yeah, so the main thing is to keep it clean.
It's so nice architecturally to have that interest there.
And we have lots of birds who hide in this shrub or actually live in this shrub. There's 1 or 2 nests.
It's a cute little nesting thing for birds.
Oh, and here's a visitor.
Oh, hi, Jessie. This is Jessie. This is one of her visiting cats, who is very sweet.
And knows where the food is.
All right, and swinging around this way.
So when we first moved in, this was a pond, a huge pond, which we're not pond people.
Well, I mean, not to mention the fact that it took up at least a quarter of your backyard, right?
So it's the first thing we did was fill it in. But all the shrubs were here and the ferns. This is a fruit tree. It's quince, so again, wildlife friendly, to give the wildlife something to eat.
And you got some right there growing.
And if you film down, we have another hedgehog sleeping box.
So you actually, it's like it's kind of like an inn.
Yes. It's an inn.
And I like what you did with the rocks. I need to collect some for myself at home. And
even that is a wildlife friendly corner. So it looks like a dumping ground for twigs and things, which it is. But again, all sorts of slugs and critters and stuff.
yeah,
And you'll always find the hedgehogs digging around in there.
very cool.
So this is our Acer. It's a Japanese maple. It was originally in the back garden and it was not very happy, so we dug it out and put it in a container, and we've moved it around a bit to try to find a place that was happy. We originally called it the Charlie Brown tree because we weren't sure it was going to survive, but it's doing quite well. It's obviously lost its leaves at this time of year, but it looks like a small maple tree.
Mm-hmm. They're very pretty, those Japanese maples. Yeah. And so I wanted to show you the kind of the wide shot here of Karen's garden. As you can see, it's really not that big, but because of the steps, you know, and the pathway, I really think it makes it look so much bigger. Because I remember I saw it on video, and when I got here, I was like, wow, you're right. You kept saying it's really actually very small, but see, a small garden can look big. It can have separate rooms. It can even have, what do you call that thing?
That's a laundry line.
A laundry line for your washing. One of the things that I think also makes this garden look so large is the fact that there's negative space. It's not all plant. And I think that moves the eye as well to really make it look like there's some depth. Beautiful.
So we also gardened on a budget. So most of our planters have been purchased off of the equivalent of eBay or local garage sales or antique sales, because planters are ridiculously expensive. So we knew we wanted to fill in this corner a little bit, but it was all rocks and everything down there. So eventually we found 2 narrow planters. It took a long time to find them. And these are just 2 grasses that we purchased from a local fair for like £1 each.
And they do well in this kind of
And
lighting?
they have been growing like crazy. So
nice.
they might get repositioned, they might not.
But they're doing well?
But they're doing well.
Hi, Jessie, say hi. Say hello. So cute.
So in terms of limited space, we do have limited space as well for storage. We're unusual in that we don't have like a really big shed in our back garden. But we don't want it cluttered with lots of things. So we have managed to find very small storage solutions. So this is nice and tiny. We have a neat little water butt and a log store that's very small. That collects rainwater from the drains. And a small side shed.
Yep. With fancy hardware.
Fancy hardware. And a very small wood storage area. So we found places to tuck it all in without it becoming a lot of overwhelming stuff.
And you even have a nice size
little fire pit.
Little fire pit.
Little
That's
deck,
awesome.
yeah.
And pretty, pretty pots. I like that they're diverse, these pots.
Yeah, so we have purchased, this was purchased from a pub that was going out of sale.
Aww.
So one pound for a cast iron pot.
Wow, that's cool.
And this has been going for 5 years now.
And this is something I've only noticed here in England, and then we saw them at the garden center, and I was like, oh, it's a thing. I thought it was your thing, but it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's basically to raise up your containers so they drain.
Great idea. Yeah, especially important if it's on something like a hard surface and not like just the grass. Yeah. Very cool, little chickadees. Don't worry, Jessie's getting her treats.
One more? Woo! Oh my goodness. Okay, I think that's a lot. That's enough. That's enough, because you're a tiny cat. So in addition to making sure that it's, part of having a wildlife-friendly garden is ensuring that it's wildlife-friendly from beginning to end. So that starts with reducing as much as possible the use of pesticides. So for example, in the UK, they've just made slug pellets legal because if the slugs eat the slug pellets and die, and then something eats the dead slug, it gets into their system,
Sure.
and you end up with dead birds and dead
Yep.
hedgehogs and all sorts of things. So you really have to think about the whole ecosystem. In a
Yep.
perfect world, we'd have a water feature to sort of complete everything, but we knew we wouldn't be able to take care of it. So you also have to be aware of your limitations when you're doing this kind of thing, because it's
Well, you have water.
we have water. Just be responsible and know what you'll be able to take care of and what you can't. So again, if you can't do anything other than put down a couple bowls of water, that will still help.
So, is there anything else you'd like to mention about your small space or wildlife garden?
So in terms of a wildlife-friendly garden, I would say there are two things to remember. First, you have to make it safe for them. So if you have any netting or trampolines or soccer nets or anything like that, you have to make sure that they're raised up so that things don't get caught in them. And the same thing, if you have a pond or a water feature, you have to make sure there's a way for them to get out if they happen to fall in. And then in terms of container gardening, the most important thing is to keep watering everything because they'll dry out much faster than anything that's just in the ground.
Very true. Very, very true. So could you think of anything, like the biggest thing that you learned while you have been on your gardening journey?
To not be scared of trimming the plants or repositioning the plants or even killing the plants. It might happen. It's not the end of the world. But since I am a new gardener, it's one of the reasons I won't spend a lot on a very new plant. I'll try out first. Oh, and a wise person told me to look at what other people in the neighborhood were growing, because if they were doing well with it, you probably would as well.
Well, that's right, because you're not only gardening new, but you're also gardening in a completely different country.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so don't try anything too foreign until you know what you're doing.
very good advice.
So what have you thought about all the gardens that you've seen? Because you've been walking
Blown away.
around looking at people's front yards and just maintenance of their front yards
Yeah.
and things like that.
It's like everybody gives an effort to make everybody. Like, I haven't seen a junky house the whole time. Everybody has something, even if it's a couple of pots with flowers in them. I guess it's also lucky that we're here this time of year because, and actually lucked out because it's so mild and we're doing a lot of walking. I'm actually doing a lot of walking. It's true. But I think just the innate love that England has of its gardens is it's obvious, you know?
I'd say that's true.
Yeah, yeah. And beautiful. It's very beautiful here. Very beautiful. So I kind of understand why you moved.
Yeah.
Not happy,
And,
but I understand it.
And love. You know,
Yeah.
move for that.
Oh yeah, that love
That
thing.
love thing.
He's a wonderful man. And he does all the watering for her.
Yes, that comes in handy as well. An
Yeah.
equal division of the labor.
Yeah. So true.
He keeps it alive. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for him, no.
Oh, and don't worry about Lady. She's at Grandma's.
Wait.
Oh, and so this is Philip T. Hedgehog. He has a growing Facebook page, and he takes you to certain places in England that you might not see. So if you're interested, subscribe to Philip T. Hedgehog on Facebook. Maybe you'll get onto Instagram and YouTube one day. We're not sure. Anyway, it's up to you. It's up to him. Yeah, but and I'll link it below. Okay. So because he looks like he's quiet, but he actually is quite the spunky hedgehog. Pretty well known in Thames.
Very well known.
Yeah, very true. So maybe we could get him a little international following. That'd be nice. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And I hope you subscribe and hit the alert bell because we have another beautiful video coming up on a trip that Mike and Karen took me on just a couple of days ago. So that'll be up next. And thank you, Karen, for showing me around your beautiful garden. Thank you for allowing me to visit you at your beautiful house.
It's been awesome.
I know, it's so much fun. We're having fun.
We're having
Like
a
we
good
did
time.
when we were younger, you know?
Yeah.
And from the Ladies Garden and Home, enjoy your gardening journey.